Welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course. Pleased to be joined by John Robinson, the head football coach at Father Gabriel Richard. How are you?
I'm better than $1 million, man. That means I'm happy to be alive and ready for another season.
All right. So kind of recap last year for you guys. Just kind of tell like how that went and all that, and and before we get into the spring, this fall coming up.
Well, it was my third season, and so from my first two, being 2-7 to 3-6, record-wise, we were able to flip our record and finish 8-3, and it was the first time in my short time being a head coach of going to the playoffs. So that was a cool experience. And then at the end of the time, at the end of the day, unless we won the state championship, we were going to lose at some point. And so we get to learn from how we lost and why we lost and try to move forward and be better the next day.
Yeah. Okay, so kind of talk about how the summer's going, how the summer went for you guys, because I should today is August 1st at time of recording. So, this begins like the summer schedule's over. Now you're in the kind of the conditioning side of things. But just what has this group accomplished over the summer with the practices that they gave you, with the MHSA gave you guys?
Well, I think adding our director of strength and performance, Coach Matt Moss, has been a critical asset for us, and I'm excited to see the guys test next week to see what our numbers are to really measure our improvements or hopeful improvements next week. The guys have been working very hard. And I run it very much like a little college program, and we do 110s and we're doing hill sprints, and we're working out 4 days a week. And so the guys have really bought into what we've been asking, and I think that it's been nice to have consistency with the strength and conditioning coach. And so now we're just trying to see what the results are from a summer program, and we'll find out next week as we get ready for football season. At the end of the day, I mean, you can have a bunch of Tarzans out there, but if they play like Janes, it doesn't matter, So we're just setting ourselves up in a position to have success.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go through this upcoming season. We'll talk about some of the returners and some of the guys coming back. We'll start with the skill positions: quarterback, running back, wide receiver on offense, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. Well, I mean, we really don't return anybody on offense besides, a 5'8" senior guard.
Yeah.
Um,
It
and
was it's more like the returners and the guys to watch coming up in the year. I probably should have specified that.
Oh, all right. Well, in terms of guys to watch, definitely our CM. We have a senior wide receiver safety named Liam Disselwag. He's going to get a lot of touches this year, as well as our receiving corps, because we do have a new quarterback that came in from Indiana and Cathedral, Indianapolis, who's competing for the starting spot here. So we have a really good two-headed race right now for our starting quarterback position. And so now we have the receivers to fill those guys in. So James Milanovich, Nick Wells will come in. Matthew Hoban is going to have a really good year for us. So, team stands for together, everyone achieves more. And so we're not going to have necessarily a guy going to Michigan this year getting all the touches. We're going to have to spread the ball out a little bit and definitely be a good team.
Absolutely. Offensive line, where are we at over there?
It'll be the biggest offensive line that I've had since I've been there. So, again, doesn't matter if you have a bunch of Tarzans if we don't execute and move people and play like Janes. But in terms of the size that we have, it is going to be the biggest that I've had, and we're very blessed for that. We are thin in terms of bodies. I just need more people to come to 23 and 14 to provide some depth. But in terms of our size, FGR is going to look a little bit different than we've had in the past. And so now is can we execute? So
Defensively, where are you guys at in terms of like the defensive line and all that?
well, we're gonna have a 4-year starting linebacker for us in the middle named Patrick Dyer, and so he's gonna be the heart and soul of our defense, and he's played a lot of football for us, and he started as a freshman, like I said. So We're ready for him to have a great senior year and hopefully kind of grab those other guys that haven't played a whole lot of ball because we are replacing a lot of guys and get them to buy in and kind of fill in where we left off on defense because statistically we had one of the best defenses I think since like 1982 or something like that. So we got a bunch to reload, but the guys are working hard and they're accepting the challenge.
For sure. Linebackers, secondary.
The linebacker was Patrick Dyer. He was the guy in the middle.
Excellent.
The secondary is going to be all new. So they're going to be same guys I talked about in the offensive side of the ball and the depth issue. Um, we have 22 guys that we feel pretty good about, but after that, it's kind of thin. But like that being said, it's young secondary. So I'm not going to mention any names because they got to earn their names being mentioned.
Absolutely. Okay. Special teams.
So special teams, we are excited to add Sebastian Gata.
Yep.
He's going to obviously be coming over from Brighton, and those guys have been put in a lot of extra work this off season with him, and we're going to change schematically a little bit as well. And I really feel like that's going to be an area where we will be able to take advantage of field position. And let's be honest, in high school athletics, special teams sometimes gets treated like the redheaded stepchild, and that doesn't necessarily happen at FGR because of my background. And so, we were in the playoff game last year because we scored off a block punt for a touchdown. So special teams are important. These guys know it. And so, it needs to be a weapon in one of the three phases for sure.
Absolutely. Okay. All right. We've talked about the kids. Now let's talk about the upcoming schedule that you guys have. And it's a pretty good one. Of course, August 29th at home against Detroit University Prep to kick off the season. September 6th, home against Whitmore Lake. September 19th, home against Riverview Gabriel Richard. September 27th at Bloomfield Hills Cranbrook. October 4th at Detroit Loyola. October 11th, home against Liggett. October 18th at Macomb Lutheran North, and finishing out the regular season at home against Montrose. So, pretty good schedule. Your division in the Catholic League has always been pretty tough. But just talk about what the outlook is in terms of what the league's going to look like this year.
Well, in terms of our schedule, I'm excited for our first three non-conference games. I think that we have really good opponents to get ready for conference play in game 4. So specifically in terms of university prep, those guys will always be physical and they're not afraid to come and play football. And so I'm excited about those guys. Whitmore Lake is a team that runs the T and is something that we could see in the playoffs. And I think that's a good game to, be able to work our defensive package against that game. And then game 3, when we go to Penfield, that's going to be a great challenge for us for our first road test and also kind of a playoff game for points because they're higher than us. Week 4 in terms of Grand Rapids, or I'm sorry, not Grand Rapids, Gabriel Richard. I'm excited for them at Eastern Michigan. That game has grown every single year since I've been in FGR. I don't know how many thousands of people we had there last year, but we play on a Thursday this year, so hopefully we can have those same numbers. But to open up against Gabriel Richard, we've had a little rivalry, right? The past couple of years with sharing the same name, you could say, right?
Yeah.
And so we lost to them in homecoming back in 2022. And so now we have them for homecoming again this year. And I know a lot of those guys were on that team. And so they're going to be excited to try to maybe avenge that loss. And they have a good team. So that's going to be a great challenge for us. And then Cranbrook the week after should be a fun game, Catholic League, right? And then we get into the 2 new teams. So when we play Loyola and Liggett, we haven't played them since they're joining our division. We'll be looking forward to the 2 new opponents. I haven't studied them a whole lot because they're new opponents, and we'll see how those 2 games go. And then we wrap up the year with Macomb Lutheran North, and hopefully, if we can control our fate, we'll see where we're playing. But that coach over there has done a tremendous job. And I met him back when I was still in college, and he was, first got there, and to see what he's done, my hat's off to Garrett over there. And that'll be a huge test because we got to go over to their place on grass, and based on that whole speech, week 9 will play itself out, whether we're in Detroit or if we're, playing Montrose.
Okay. All right. And then just to finish off here, what's the schedule going to be like before we get to the 12th? I know, obviously, as I mentioned earlier, this is kind of the you can still do conditioning, you can still be in the weight room, but obviously no football activities until August 12th. So what's the schedule going to be like for the next few weeks?
Well, we're just doing physical testing since I can't touch a football next week. And then we really only test 2 days next week because I want them to rest. Because when August 12th starts, we're going.
It's go time.
So right from this moment right now, August 1st, in the next 12 days, I'm only going to require maybe 2, 3 days. And then a lot of those days are rest and get your body ready to go. Because once we hit the 12th, if these guys want to go as far as they want to go, we're going to have a 14-week season, 13-week season. So it's not just going to be 9. And so that being said, it's up to them ultimately. But we'll find out. But it's going to be a lot of rest is the answer. We've had a great summer.
Absolutely. All right. Well, John, thanks so much for the time as always, and best of luck to you guys coming up this season.
Yeah, I appreciate the time, Casey. Thank you.